Hi, welcome to this episode of Wheels Exchange. I'm Tracy Ho, your personal branding consultant and executive presence coach. Today we have a guest in the office, William Song. It's a friend and a business partner on the coaching space. Interesting story. I met Will through a personal network when I was searching for a person on the ground in China who knows how coaching works and how can we collaborate on our clients' work. So then some of my friends recommend me to talk to Will, and I think almost 2 years ago now.
During
and
COVID.
Yes, and this is our first time meeting in person. So I have Will in the office. Will, why don't you start by telling us what you do? And I know you have a very interesting background. Why don't you start?
Sure.
Share.
So my name is William Song. Call me Will. I'm from London. I was born in London in the UK. To Chinese parents. My father's from Hong Kong. Mother's from Shenzhen. Currently living in Guangzhou, but I started my career in banking, working in many different countries in various roles, and ending my corporate life in Guangzhou in China in 2017, where I decided I wanted to be a coach for teenagers. So when I left banking, I couldn't immediately work with teenagers because it just seems a bit odd because I was working banking. So I had to create a brand that was credible and authentic to go through the age ranges. So from executives to young professionals, universities, international schools, and eventually to teenagers and parents. So my personal brand, I guess, was going from as an executive coach all the way through the age groups to then now work with teenagers. So my clients are quite a wide range. My biggest set of clients right now are young professionals, MBA students, and fresh graduates who are kind of on their first two rungs of their career ladder, or they're actually career pivoting. So I'm supporting them mentally, but also helping them craft who they would like to be in the future.
Oh, okay. So that's similar to some of my work as well.
You're more professional.
No. Then I'm very interested as a coach in China how things work, because when I was learning to be a coach, I have some classmates who came from mainland China and then or Asian cities. We always share the difficulties to run coaching business in this region. What do you think? Is that easy or difficult to be a coach in China?
It's difficult, if I must say. Difficult as a business, but also difficult because it's such a nascent and young industry in China. The Chinese culture is very transactional. They're very respective of mentors. So you give me advice, and I follow that advice, and I would achieve. Coaching, as you know, is very different, where it's actually very self-serving, it's very self-exploratory, and then making your own plans and taking action. So in China, it's a very challenging space, I would say. I've been coaching since 2008. Becoming a professional coach in 2017, I found it very difficult to help people understand what coaching is. Very different to Hong Kong, I'd say. Hong Kong, because of the community of expats here, and companies that hire coaches for their teams and for their staff, China hasn't really gotten to that stage yet, not until probably in the last 2 years ago. So it's a challenging space, but yet the more challenging it is, the more rewarding it becomes for people like us who are coaching in China.
Then I can really relate that, because sometimes I do have clients in China through Zoom. Then they will call me 老师,
yes.
like teacher in direct translation. And instead of self-exploratory path, they prefer, can you just tell me what should I do?
They say, well, I've given you money, Will, so just give me a solution. And when I explained to them the difference between Chinese medicine and Western medicine, I said, so you have a headache, and do you want me to give you a pill to fix your headache? And he says, yes. But I said, in Chinese medicine, we will go through a Socratic question. So have you been drinking enough water recently? What's going on in your life? Are you getting enough sleep? How much sleep are you getting? Are you physically overexerting yourself? So through this questioning, you might work out how to self-medicate yourself and find your own solutions. My Panadol may not help you, but your self-serving plans of I should sleep early, I should drink more water, I should exercise, I should take more breaks, then you work out, actually my headaches are starting to go. So once you give them an analogy, then they think, now I understand what coaching is, and yes, it may take a little bit more time, but actually that helps them kind of let go, because 老师 means I always have to come back to Tracy to ask her for advice. And I said, look, in the long run, it's cheaper for you if you learn yourself, learn your own methodologies, and then self-coach yourself to your own solutions.
Exactly. I really like that analogy, Will. Then how do you think about positioning or differentiating yourself? Although there may not be as many coaches as elsewhere in China, but still there are many more coaches these days. How to stand out? Because when I first talked to you, one thing I got very interested and inspired by Will was your Wilosophy, as well as you mentioned you patent or trademark some of what your work. Can you share?
Sure.
Does that help how to personal brand yourself to stand out in the market?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you're the personal branding coach, and I've been personally positioning myself or controlling the narrative around what type of coach I am to the Chinese market. First starting off as an executive coach and then working with universities, with students. So that authenticity and that credibility around actually I really am a coach, I really want to help this segment of society, says to people Will's consistent in his behaviours. And then I quickly worked out that I couldn't just use the traditional coaching methodologies, which was, can you draw me your life pyramid and your canvas, your goals and stuff like this. So I decided to create some proprietary tools that I feel is very useful for helping people understand themselves, so they can take that into their lives or into their professions. But also because it's personally branded with Wilosophy, which means Will's philosophy, that it kind of triggers that experience again mentally for them. So, I need to be able to kind of self-help myself or self-medicate some of the challenges that I have. So being able to patent or register some trademarks in China really, really helps, because that kind of differentiates you between people that have just graduated as coaches. And right now there are around 4,000 coaches in China, of which there are about 3,000 PCCs, which is more than ACCs.
Wow, really?
So there's a lot. Yeah, there's a lot of coaches. Now, for me, are they all great coaches? I will go on record to say I've met some really bad PCCs and some poor MCCs in my time, purely because I think they do it for the finances. But then I've met a really great bunch of PCCs as well. So there is that balance of, like all good brands, is shop around, and once they really understand who I am and my brand, then they kind of tend to stick with me. And my marketing is all around word of mouth, if I'm honest.
Then, as someone who successfully branded yourself, can you share with our audience how you think branding yourself or owning your narrative helped you or can help them differentiate themselves? Can you give us your advice how to do that? Yeah,
I mean, it's quite self-serving a little bit. It's a bit kind of, once you understand what's working for you as a coach, understanding these are the clients that I'm helping the most, and my credentials are around this, then you kind of bite onto and hold on to it to say, okay, so I'm really good at leadership coaching, executive presence, or career coaching. Okay, I never call myself a life coach because I think everything's life. But once you know your personal brand, then you kind of focus on that and you consistently behave that way. You consistently reach out to people that you think need that. So I consistently reach out to universities, I consistently reach out to HR directors. I'm known because of my banking background and my technology background, my fintech background, that I use this space and I leverage my experience in that space and my testimonials in that space to get more clients. So once you have your niche, I think, and you understand mentally, this is who I am, and I'm proud of who I am. I don't have to be doing X, Y, Z because I'm actually doing ABC, and I'm really good at doing ABC. Once you understand it and you're proud of that, then you naturally exuberate that presence as that particular type of coach. So I'd say find your niche as a coach. Don't try to do everything. If you're a relationship coach, focus on that. If you're a personal branding coach, focus on that. And then once you have that niche, and then constantly talk and conduct yourself in that manner, and that really builds your personal brand as a coach.
Excellent. To end this conversation, I would like to hear from you. Will, you have worked with so many youngsters, as you said, and as a coach. Then in our universe, right, children are told by their parents or whoever they trust to just follow orders. All right, they shouldn't have their own path. They should just follow whatever the seniors give them, and they are trained to not build their own brand. How would you advise or give a little 2 cents to our children in mainland China or whoever you see around us, teenagers around us? How should they position themselves in this culture? How
The
can
parents
they brand themselves?
or the children?
The children.
Yes, do you want a short answer or a long answer? There's a really long answer to this, but I'll keep it short. The reason I left HSBC, the bank that I worked with, is because I really wanted to help children to understand their personal brand and that they have independence of choice around what they do. And they are in control, regardless of what's happening in terms of their family life, in terms of society, in terms of the world changing. I think children really actually understand what they want. It's the ability to be able to find that confidence to speak up, to say, yes, I agree, and no, I disagree because, and these are my views. Let's find middle ground and how to negotiate and how to influence some of the people and relationships that they have with their parents and school and their peers. So my advice to children, and not necessarily parents, because parents have this mentality that's really hard to change, where they've gone through this kind of survival mechanism to want good for their children, is to build a relationship with your parents, get them to understand who you are, but also have some empathy of why your parents and why people around you behave the way they behave. It's a two-way street. Neither is right or wrong, and just understanding that there isn't a right or wrong, then you would go a longer way, because the person that seeks right or wrong in terms of philosophy is the insecure person, and that's the kind of last thing I'd say on that.
I totally agree with you. We should build our inner security. That is what we really emphasize a lot in coaching. It's about building our mind, set our mind, and trust ourselves. It's just like an inner self or inner security, sometimes we say. Thank you, Will, for today's sharing.
Thank you.
And in case of any questions around what Will does or what we do, feel free to contact us.